It's the classic beginnings of the Superman and Batman film franchises for DC, both comprised of 4 films that followed a similar course quality-wise. When Batman 1989 was released, these were the 2 best comic book movies ever, without a doubt. So which one is actually the best?
Oh, I got a live one here.
Christopher Reeve stars as Superman, who strangely enough gets the 3rd credit in the movie about him, even to the point where the entire movie is named after him. But I digress. This movie is all about Superman. We have the first 20 minutes, which is essentially setting up for Superman 2, and then Jor-El discussing the destruction of Krypton and saving his son. And then we see him as a teenager learning about his powers. He has some fantastic abilities, and he wants to show them off, but he instead is just a helper on the football team.
Come on, let's go. Come on, he's got to clean this up.
Clark.
Yeah, bye,
Clean this up, Clark.
When Jonathan Kent dies of a heart attack, he learns that despite everything he can do, he cannot save everyone.
All those things I can do. All those powers. And I couldn't even save him.
He then learns of his home world, and Jor-El teaches him how to be Superman. He emerges from his training looking completely different. This is something Man of Steel got right. Reeve and Jeff East look way too dissimilar to believably be the same person. Yes, Reeve doesn't look like a teenager, but neither did Cavill. But in the movies, you have to trust the audience to suspend disbelief for a bit. It makes even less sense when you realize East was only 5 years younger than Reeve. Again, I digress. The movie goes with a Silver Age Superman where Clark Kent is the disguise. He acts like a doofus for no real reason.
Should we be seeing this?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Honestly, I think Reeve does a great job playing the lame Clark Kent and the confident Superman, but it's just that this version isn't that interesting. There is no reason for Clark to act like a goofball. It is possible to act like a normal human being and still get a job to support yourself and your family. Hell, it's probably easier. Again, I digress. Superman's arc gets thrown on its head quite a bit when Lois dies, and he literally reverses time to save her. I really dive into this later, but him saving her changes the lesson to, you can't save everyone, unless you're Superman, in which case you can literally reverse time and save everyone. He saved Lois, and he could probably save his father too if he travels back with some aspirin. It's a very flawed arc. Batman stars Michael Keaton as the titular Batman, aka Bruce Wayne. Keaton is easily one of the best parts of this movie and one of the strongest live-action Batmans. His Bruce Wayne is aloof. He plays the role as super rich to the point where he'll just give away grants as a joke.
Alfred, they need some more wine in the front room, and someone named Mrs. Daly needs a copy of the menu. Oh, and give Knox a grant.
When he's not being watched, we see a much more contemplative man. In the Batman costume, he is actually capable of doing a Batman voice without sounding like he has serious throat issues.
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
Where were the other drugs going?
I never knew that. Wait, what?
I said, where are the other drugs going?
Why are you talking like that?
Unfortunately, this is where his interesting character information ends. The movie presents us with a clearly scarred character that puts on a show in front of the world, and at night hunts criminals, and it essentially gives him just a romance. He takes Vicky Vale out on a date, and after sleeping with her, decides to bail on her.
Wait a minute. No, I can't. I can't make it.
Okay. We'll do it later in the day.
Oh, hold on a second. I can't make it then either. I've got a very important meeting today.
Alfred thinks he should tell her his secret.
Alfred, why don't you marry her?
That's not exactly what I had in mind.
But he continues to avoid her. Eventually, Alfred brings her to the Batcave, revealing Bruce's secret for him, which feels like a severe missed opportunity. Something that could have meant growth for Bruce ends up just being forced on him, meaning the character doesn't need to grow, and he can just continue on in his current way. It's a great performance as hampered by a script that gives him nothing to do. Both these heroes have flaws. The performances are great for both. However, Batman is frequently overshadowed by Joker and Vicky Vale, and even Knox in the beginning. With the exception of the Jor-El section at the beginning, Superman is consistently focused on in his movie. It's a point for Superman.
Sorry to drop in on you like this, Miss Lane, but I've been thinking, you know, there must be a lot of questions about me that people in the world would like to know the answers.
Of course, yes.
Batman has Jack Nicholson starring as Jack Napier, aka the Joker. There are many ways to interpret the Joker. In The Dark Knight, he was an agent of chaos, but himself, not much of a chaos. He had huge, drawn-out, complicated plans meant to instill chaos on the people of Gotham. This is not that Joker. Nicholson's Joker is an agent of chaos, but he pursues it by largely just being a chaos. At least that's how he is seen. He actually has two very big and complex plans in this movie. The first being the makeup poisoning, in which he taints many numerous makeup products, and if mixed together in the wrong way, creates a lethal poison. It's a cool idea that does give us a scene that shows how good a detective Batman is, and that's about it.
The poison only works when the components are mixed. Hairspray won't do it alone, but hairspray mixed with lipstick and perfume will be toxic and untraceable.
The plan goes nowhere outside that. I also find it strange how the newscasters have to go without makeup, but Vicky Vale is just fine. His other big plan is the parade scene where he puts on a parade where he rains money on the people of Gotham and then kills them. It's a very Joker-style plan to kill people for their greed. However, what is the end game with any of this? His motivations don't seem to be to cause chaos, but to simply win the heart of Vicky Vale.
About to get a new girl, Bobby.
Not exactly a deep villain goal. Superman has Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. This is again Silver Age Lex Luthor, so we're not dealing with the wealthy businessman or even President Lex Luthor. He apparently must have a lot of wealth to have such an elaborate underground mansion, but he is very much a criminal under pursuit from the cops. He is portrayed as a genius, and this looks amplified when Otis is added to the mix, who's a complete idiot and played largely for comic relief. Hackman does a great job here, but quite frankly, he's not particularly smart. The smartest thing he does is transmit a message to Superman at a frequency so high that only he and the dogs can hear it.
People know who I am.
Only one thing alive with less than 4 legs can hear this frequency, Superman, and that's you.
After that, he reads an article to discover Superman can't see through lead.
You gave them eyes, but they cannot see. Nor can Superman through lead.
Rather baffling that Superman revealed that in an interview.
No, not at all, Miss Lane. It's just that this platter must be made of lead.
Yes it is, so?
Oh, you see, I sort of have a problem seeing through lead.
He assumes a rock from Krypton could kill Superman based on no real evidence.
The level of specific radioactivity is so high to anyone from the planet Krypton, this substance is lethal.
Right.
He also assumes Superman can't catch 2 missiles.
Yes, Superman, double jeopardy. Even you, with your great speed, couldn't stop both of them.
Dude is fast enough to reverse time. I think he can catch 2 missiles.
These missiles?
Holy crap!
Are these the missiles you were talking about, Lex?
Yes!
What?
Yes, I said those are the ones!
I mean, I flew around the Earth a few times, but these were the only giant missiles I could find. But you said I couldn't possibly catch them both, so these must not be the ones you were talking about.
Both these villains are played by simply amazing actors, but again, the issue comes down to the screenplay. Luthor is too lucky and honestly goofy to feel like a serious threat. Joker's motivations are goofy, and while he's not a physical threat to Batman, he at least knows how to throw a lot of guys and a bell after him. Super close, but the point has to go to Batman.
You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? What? I always ask that of all my prey.
Superman has a story by Mario Puzo and a screenplay by Mario Puzo, David Newman, Leslie Newman, Robert Benton, and Tom Mankiewicz. Around the first 20 minutes, it's based entirely on Krypton, where Marlon Brando gets to be the lead for a bit. Then we spend around the next half hour with Clark in various stages of growth on Earth until we are finally introduced to Christopher Reeve. It is not a quick process, but it works, and it also means that the movie's 2.5-hour runtime, there's always something happening. The movie has a strong focus on fate, and not being able to change was meant to be
space and time. It is forbidden for you to interfere with human history.
With two significant exceptions. The first being when Jor-El saves his son from the destruction of the planet Krypton. The second being when Clark saves Lois by going back in time. The first works because it doesn't violate any rules set up early in the movie, and there is a cost to Jor-El's action, being that he cannot save himself or anyone else. The second doesn't work because Superman suffers no penalty for going back in time. It's treated as though he could always do it if motivated, meaning Jonathan's death earlier in the movie didn't motivate him enough. Jor-El even tells him that what he will do is forbidden, and he reminds himself that there's a limit to his powers, and yet he does it anyway at apparently no cost.
My son, it is forbidden for you to interfere in human history.
One thing I do.
It is forbidden.
All those things I can do, all those powers, and I couldn't even save him.
If he's that fast, he could have used a fraction of that speed to stop both those missiles. Plus, they animate it weird too. He's seen flying around the Earth at super speed, but then he has to go the other way a few seconds. Are they implying that he's actually flying too fast and that he is reversing the Earth's orbit for only a few seconds, and then making the Earth turn so fast that time is reversing?
What? No!
It's tough enough to believe that Superman can travel so fast that he can reverse time, something the Flash can barely do, but at incredible cost. But the idea that he's forcing Earth out of the orbit and then realigning it somehow is insane. Batman is about revenge and desire. It's a story by Sam Hamm and a screenplay by Sam Hamm and Warren Screenan. Batman is an interesting character in how he is clearly a scarred person who dresses up like a bat and fights crime.
And as sure as I am that he fucks bats,
Okay.
A man who does that has issues, and Tim Burton is clearly not remotely interested in any of them.
But I don't know what to think of all this. I really don't.
Look, sometimes I don't know what to think about this. It's just something I have to do.
Instead, we have stories where Bruce Wayne is being egged on by Alfred to get closer to Vicky, and Joker also has a thing for Vicky, and Batman pushes Joker into chemicals creating him, but actually Joker killed Batman's parents, meaning Joker created Batman first.
I made you. You made me first.
I really don't want to bash on Batman 89 because I do enjoy the movie a great deal, but when you break the story down, it's incredibly silly and muddled. There is no real moral here, no deeper meaning. It all breaks down because Joker is bad and should be stopped. There's not even any real resolution or change as far as the Batman story arc with Vicky. Does he decide to actually pursue a relationship with her, or does he continue to shut himself down and isolate himself? That's actually another angle to investigate. Is it actually a good idea to shut yourself down around people who you are interested in?
Excuse me. Excuse me. Could you tell me which of these guys is Bruce Wayne?
Well, I'm not sure.
Thanks, Amy.
That's what Bruce does, and he has good reasons. And there's even guides on how to present your best face around people you like in an attempt to get them to like you. The truth is, this is all a lie, and the real best way to have a strong relationship is to lay your cards out on the table and let the person accept you or not.
I just gotta know, are we gonna try to love each other?
I'd like to.
This movie is in a prime position to explore this idea and just flirts with it and goes nowhere. But again, I'm examining what this could be instead of what it is. I will take most of the Superman story before the Batman story, but that ending was such an easy cop-out just to give Superman a happy ending without thinking about any of the cost or anything that would make sense for the character, making such a drastic action. I really want to give the point to Superman if it weren't for the lazy ending, but I simply can't. It's a point for Batman.
Oh, he took the film.
Batman has Kim Basinger as Vicky Vale, Robert Wall as Alexander Knox, and Michael Gould as Alfred. Yes, I know we have Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon, Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent, Patrick Swayze as Dalton, Jack Palance as Grisham, and Tracy Walter as Bob. But these characters are just kind of there. We don't get to know them, nor do they have any motivations or character other than what the actors give them. Alexander Knox is interesting. An argument can be made that he is the main character at the beginning of the movie. We follow him as he gets noticed for his Batman stories that no one else believes, but the audience knows is true. The movie seems to set up the audience to follow him, even giving him a supporting character in Vicky Vale. Once Bruce Wayne is introduced, that all changes, and he is pushed to the background, becoming a supporting character to Vicky, and yet another character who pines after her. This leaves Vicky and Alfred. Alfred doesn't appear a lot, but he has a strong influence trying to push Bruce into having a normal life. Vicky represents that normal life that Bruce is very interested in, but keeps on resisting. This is actually very similar to the ideas in Spider-Man 2, except that movie decisively had an opinion that a normalish life is worth at least trying for, while this movie just kind of plays with the idea without committing to anything. Superman has Marlon Brando as Jor-El, Ned Beatty as Otis, Jackie Cooper as Perry White, Glenn Ford as Jonathan Kent, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane, Valerie Perrine as Eve Tessmacher, and Phyllis Thaxter as Clark's mom,
whose name escapes me.
There are many characters like Jimmy Olsen, Zod, Ursa, Dalton, Lana Lang, Nod, but these characters don't mean a whole lot to the story. Honestly, the same could be said for Ma Kent and Perry White. Jonathan Kent is just there to die and show that Superman has limits. Tessmacher is there to rescue Superman and show off her boobs. Otis is there to be stupid.
The next time, put my robe on after I'm out of the pool.
Jor-El is the lead at the beginning of the movie, and that just leaves us with Lois. Lois is there to get the interview from Superman, where he reveals he cannot see through lead, and also gives us a cool flying scene, and for Clark to get a crush on, and that motivates Superman to risk breaking the earth to save her. The potential relationship with Lois is troubling though. It's early on, but she shows complete interest in Superman and no interest in Clark, which seems like a bad way for a relationship to start. All this being said, Lois and Alfred are the only characters that really function like supporting characters here. The issue with Vicky is that she frequently overshadows Batman. It seems clear that Burton doesn't really care about Batman, which is a missed opportunity. Since Burton frequently ignores Batman, it means Alfred gets pushed even further back. Lois is at least a presence in Superman that works on her own without overshadowing Superman. It's a very close point for Superman.
You really shouldn't smoke, you know, Miss Lane.
Don't tell me, lung cancer, right?
Well, not yet, thank goodness.
For the time, Superman's effects were top-notch, and since they are largely practical, they have dated about as well as possible. Although, they have dated, and things like sets and the fact that Christopher Reeve is clearly being screened when flying are distinctly apparent. That being said, I try not to judge a movie too harshly for its age, because for the time it looked great. Visuals are an incredibly strong suit for Tim Burton. His movies always have a certain look, and Batman is no different. He makes a Gotham that seems to exist in the 30s and 80s all at once. It feels very much like its own world, yet also very lived in. His style also does a lot in covering up weak effects like the Joker falling or the shots that are obviously sets, all look like they're supposed to be that way. Here's where it gets interesting because both these movies look dated, but since Richard Donner went for a realistic world with Superman, when the effects look dated, it sticks out. Since Burton went for a very stylized world with Batman, when there is a set or some shoddy animation, it ends up blending in with the overall style. This one isn't really that close. It's a point for Batman.
Into the air, Junior Birdman! Miss me! Yeah, watch me!
These are two iconic scores by absolute masters. Danny Elfman does the score for Batman, and it's quite probably his best score to date. John Williams scores Superman, and while I wouldn't consider it his best score, it is great. Quite frankly, both these scores do a perfect job with their movies. Elfman channels a great dark and gothic tone in Batman, Superman does a sweeping over-the-top score, and they both fit their respective movies perfectly. Most of the sound design does its job without standing out except for one area. The credits for Superman have that awesome sound of the credits sweeping into frame. They really missed an opportunity to do some unique sounds with Krypton. We get a little bit, but not much.
I ask you now to pronounce judgment on those accused.
There is one really clear weak point sound-wise with these movies, and it's rather shockingly Prince. His contribution to the music in Batman ranges from fairly awesome to weak. I enjoy songs like Trust and Party Man thoroughly.
Hey, the new king in town.
But Scandalous, played during the end credits, is nowhere. Actually, the best Prince songs from this album are largely the ones that make the movie. Fortunately, we dodge Arms of Orion. It's rather shocking how someone so amazingly talented as Prince ends up being the weak point here. But he is. I think it's clear Prince's heart wasn't in this project. Overall, I do like his work here, but it suffers in comparison to Williams and Elfman's. I hate this because Prince was a brilliant artist and Elfman does his best score ever, but they cannot beat Williams. It's a point for Superman.
Purple Rain. Sign of the Times.
Definitely not.
The Batman soundtrack.
Throw it.
Richard Donner approaches Superman in about as realistic a style as you can for a story about an alien who comes to Earth and gets superpowers. His style in most of his movies is very grounded and consistently good, and this one is no exception. One of the taglines for Superman was, "You'll believe a man can fly." This is an excellent tagline because that's what Donner clearly goes for, the idea that this man can fly in our world. That being said, the movie has a tendency to drag during the overlong Kryptonian beginning, and the ending goes completely off the rails. There is a great movie after Krypton and before Superman reverses time, and that great movie is really let down by the rest. I've been super critical of Tim Burton in the past, but I want to make it clear I am critical because he is overrated, not because he is bad. In my opinion, he has never directed a movie I would consider great. But he has also directed very few movies that I would consider bad. In fact, I could probably count the number of bad movies he's done on one hand. I enjoy the vast majority of his filmography, I just don't think there's anything there that's great. In many ways, you can understand why this is when you look at Batman. This is a really weak story, but it is engaging and fun. Burton does a lot for this movie. Where the screenplay is lacking, Burton infuses his visual style. Add to it the great cast put together by Marion Doherty, Keaton, and Nicholson all infuse their abundant talents into their roles, and take the frankly weak script and make a very good movie, possibly Burton's best. Watching these two, Batman is way more consistently engaging throughout. Superman's beginning and ending really hurt it. If you can cut those bits out of Superman, it would win this point and the story point honestly easily, but you can't, and because of that, Batman gets the point. This is a contest I've been wanting to do for a while, and I just never got around to. These are the classic comic book movies from my childhood. Superman was released a little bit before I was born, and I remember going to the theater to see Batman when I must have been only 8. These movies were my introduction to both these characters. Such a rough period for comic book movies. The next highlight won't be until Men in Black in 1997, which was quickly followed by Blade in 1998, then X-Men in 2000, then Spider-Man in 2002, and you see where this is going.
They think order and chaos are somehow opposites and try to control what won't be.
I used to fuck guys like you in prison.